What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Star Citizen. This is a game that a lot of you guys have assumed that I am super hyped for, and oh my god, I can't wait for Star Citizen. And people have been asking, where's the Star Citizen videos? Why haven't you been covering this game? Aren't you excited for it? It's the greatest thing ever. And the truth of it is, I am not excited for Star Citizen at all. I don't think the game is going to do well for the sole reason that it is too ambitious. Star Citizen started off as a game that was just going to be a space dogfighting simulator from what I gather anyway. It started off as a game that was fairly simple, and then they got a decent backing, and then people kept spending more and more money backing the game, and now it's this fucking Godzilla freak project that is trying to be everything. This game is trying to do everything, and rather than it being just like a space simulator dogfighting game, it is now, and keep in mind, I don't keep up with the game that much, so there might be more than this that I'm listing. So, Star Citizen, they want a single-player campaign, they want it to be a massively multiplayer MMO with giant space exploration, and they also want it to have exploration on foot. So you've got cities, pubs, general MMO zones. So you've got both a huge environment for the space part of the game and the on-foot part of the game with space stations, and I saw a guy running around a pub. It's crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on here with just the zones. Then they wanted to have a first-person shooter mode. So not only is this a game where you can explore on foot, you can fight people like you're in Halo. You have the dogfighting of the game. The game is very cinematic with lots of really great looking UI. The graphics of the game are incredible. The detail put into the game is fantastic. I saw a video of a guy running around a pub, and you could see all the like scratch marks and general like wear and tear on the bar and the stools and stuff. It looks great. They want Oculus Rift support. They want all this immersion stuff. They're just trying to do so many different things. And a lot of people go, oh, they raised $90 million. They have all these people. They can do this stuff, right? This game could have raised $1 billion, and I still don't think the final product would be very good. Just because a game has raised a lot of money does not mean that the game is going to be good. Star Wars The Old Republic is a perfect example of this. Star Wars The Old Republic, to get out the door, costs $300 million. That's a World of Warcraft clone that has Star Wars and voice acting in it. Nothing super ambitious about that game. Yeah, they did some cool stuff, but essentially, it's a tab target hotkey based MMO that we've seen before and is not really breaking that much ground. Star Citizen, on the other hand, is doing all this crazy ambitious stuff, and it's only raised $90 million. It's a drop in the fucking bucket. And they have all these features. Will these features come together seamlessly to make an awesome cohesive experience? I don't think so. I really have a feeling that in Star Citizen, people are like, okay, I can run into a pub, like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Yeah, these zones look cool, but like, why am I doing this? This doesn't really make sense. None of this stuff comes together right. I really feel like that's what's going to happen with Star Citizen. I put a tweet out back in August saying, I think that Star Citizen is ultimately going to be a hollow game that is very flashy, and I stand by that, and I think a lot of people are probably seeing where I'm coming from now, especially with reports coming out that Star Citizen is running out of money. They've spent all their money on all these flashy bullshit features, and they don't really have a game. All of these game modules they wanted to get out to players have been delayed. The whole game itself was supposed to come out in 2014, and now it's 2015, getting close to 2016, and the game is nowhere close to release. There's no indications that this game is going to come out anytime soon, and I hate to say I called it, but I fucking called it a long time ago, and that's the reason why I didn't put down any money on this game that seemingly looked amazing. So, a lot of people are gonna say, oh, Zyback just hates crowdfunded games and Kickstarter games, and you'd be right. I fucking do, for the most part. 90% of Kickstarters are bullshit. The way that video game development works is that a developer goes to a publisher and says, hey, we've got this great idea. We'd love it if you could take a risk, give us some money, and if the game does well, then you will be rewarded greatly with dividends. So let's say whatever XXX venture capitalist company goes to Blizzard, says, hey, we'll give you all this money for World of Warcraft, but we want 20% of the revenue the game makes if it does well. If it doesn't do well, then that's the risk we take. So World of Warcraft does well. The people that supported the game and put up the money to get it made, they also make a shitload of money as well. So it's a risk and reward thing. With Kickstarter, there's no fucking risk for the developer. If the game does well, they make a shitload of money. You don't get dick. If you kickstart a game and the game does well, they're not going to send you a check in the mail for your dividends. You don't get shit. And if the game fails, you're out of luck. You just wasted a fuckload of money and you get nothing. So you can probably tell why I'm not a huge fan of crowdfunding video games. Now, a lot of you guys are probably in the comments going, "What the fuck, you crowdfunded Crowfall, you fucking idiot, hypocrite, 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 you've changed, Cyback, you've changed." Probably saying all kinds of stupid bullshit like that. So I'd like to explain myself with Crowfall, because Crowfall is a very different situation, in my opinion. So with Crowfall, they had been working on the development of the game long before the Kickstarter. I think like a year and a half, something like that. They've been working on the game for a while, and they had a clear vision of what they wanted to do. And the reason they did a Kickstarter was to obviously A, raise more money, but B, raise more money that wasn't from external investors. They didn't want to sell a majority stake in their company and lose creative control and have a publisher going, "Hey, we'd like you to do this, blah, 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 blah." And they came out and said that. That's the big difference. They came out and said why they wanted money from people instead of investors. And if the Kickstarter failed, they were still going to make the game. And I believe they said that in the Kickstarter pitch. They said, "Hey, if we don't raise the money here, we're still going to make the game, but we'd like to raise it from you." So when they came out and said that, and they had a solid vision of what the game was supposed to be, the stretch goals weren't retardedly, like, just over the top ridiculous in terms of development. Like, for example, the stretch goals in Crowfall are very moderate. Like, hey, if we raise another $70,000, we're going to make a female version of this race. Or, hey, if we raise more money, we're going to hire this guy. We're going to hire a video guy, hire a QA guy. That was a lot of their stretch goals. Hey, we're going to hire a dedicated particle effects dude, or, you know, whatever. That was their stretch goals, rather than new stretch goal, intergalactic fucking space battles, brand new whole feature to the game, FPS mode, fuck it. Like, they weren't crazy features like that. And while Crowfall is going to be a very different game from what we've seen in the past, it is not so ambitious that it's ridiculous. Crowfall is a game that we haven't seen in a while because it's a PvP-based MMO. So if you played games like Shadowbane or Dark Age of Camelot, Crowfall is going to be very similar to that, but different in a lot of ways. And for players like myself, I've never seen games like that because I'm too young to have. I started playing WoW when I was 12, and then I dabbled in some other things here and there, but, you know, mainly it was WoW and other WoW-style MMOs. So let's talk about some of the things that Crowfall is doing that I think are realistic. So the campaigns in Crowfall, how there's not a huge persistent world. The worlds get destroyed over and over again, and the worlds are procedurally based. Yeah, that's different, but that's not crazy. That's not something I think they're going to fall flat on their face doing. The physics, this is something I was pretty worried about, but we've already seen with the pre-alpha that they're going to work. The fact that all players take up space in the world and you can't run through other players, like, how is that going to work in an MMO? That's going to be potentially pretty stupid. So I was worried about that at first, but now that we've seen it in the pre-alpha working, and the players having different mass, like the bigger races being actually physically fucking heavier and bigger than other players, that's working. That's gonna work. So we've seen that in practice. Destruction is the big what if right now for Crowfall. Is destruction going to work? Who knows, really? That could be a feature that maybe doesn't work. But even if it doesn't, that's one of those features that, you know, if Crowfall didn't have destruction, I wouldn't be that butthurt about it. I'd like to see it. But if you go in and look at Crowfall versus Star Citizen, you'll see what I'm talking about with the things they want to do. They're ambitious, but they're realistic. They're not so fucking crazy that it's like, there's no fucking way. Like, I'm never, with Crowfall, I'm not saying, like, there's no way they could do that. They're good, smart ideas that are doable. And they make sense. With Crowfall, they are making a lot of the features in Crowfall, a lot of things they're developing are things that can be used and reused and repurposed and used in different ways. The way the sandbox is working out to be it's smart. Like the world builder, for example, all of the zones in Crowfall are going to be procedurally generated by a Minecraft style world builder. Now, that's something that takes a lot of money to develop. That's probably going to be a very big development process to get that world builder right. But that's something that has so many benefits because you're going to go into a new campaign. It's going to be a whole brand new world you've never seen before. They're not going to have to go in and spend all this money over and over and over again making all these different zones. They're just going to fucking, boom, just get made. And the players are going to go into something brand new every single campaign. So you see what I'm talking about with stuff being able to be used and reused like that? So that's the thing that sold me with Crowfall, is that their game development is smart. They've got a smaller budget, but all of the stuff they're building is stuff that isn't going to be a one-shot, one-trick pony. Like, you're not going to see this. You're not going to do this thing one time and then never do it again. So that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.